Mm. Okay, we are live. This is something that we spontaneously decided to go live instead of recording it because of the importance of this topic. We have Amit from Rosenthal. Recently, we started to cooperate together and we offer, as you know, freight services. Amit was kind enough to give $100 promotion to anyone that come through this YouTube live or Facebook live, depends on where you're coming from. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the latest news and updates that we're having now in the Amazon space or the freight and logistics. And for those of you that don't know Amit, welcome. This is your first time here,
Thank
and
you.
I know you for quite not long time, but in the Amazon space here, it's like dog years. So I feel that I know you
Yeah,
for like 10 years, right?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah,
So welcome, Amit.
thank
Pleasure to
you.
have you here, and I'm sure many of the viewers will get a lot of value in this live. Encourage all of you, if you have questions, you can ask them in the comment section, and we can answer them later when once you're done. Why
Great.
don't you tell who you are, what is your experience, and what you do?
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me here. My name is Amit Rosenthal. I'm the owner of Rosenthal Logistics Company. We are specialized in offering logistics and 3PL services for Amazon sellers around the world. We are doing it. I think we launched. I'm in the logistics industry in about 20 years, and we launched the company specialized on logistics for Amazon sellers in 2017. So about 4 years on the Amazon segment.
Great, great. So again, this is something that usually I prepare the live ahead of time. I announce it and let people know so they can be prepared. But this is
Right.
again spontaneously because of the recent changes and updates, and we hope to give those updates like on a weekly basis because they could really make a difference in your business. They could really make the difference of you knowing some facts about logistics or shipping that could affect your sales and your inventory levels and your entire business. That's why on Q4 we feel that it's super important, and I hope that Amit will be able to do it on a weekly basis and share his knowledge with us. So we'll start with the first. We have a couple of topics that you prepared
Right.
and new. Let's start with the most important one. What are the most important topic or news that sellers should know about?
Right. So Tomer, just before one sentence before we start talking about the new update, I want to emphasize some point that you mentioned here. Uh, Amazon sellers in general are occupied with multitask that they need to do: PPC, sourcing, logistics, and so on, and other topics that you are familiar better than me. But I think normally logistics and the freight forwarding part is something that the most of the sellers doesn't want to have any interest or doesn't want to be involved. They want to give it to a freight forwarder and that's it. But these days, especially with all the backlog in Los Angeles and in US ports, and we will discuss it further, in order to be on the safe side and have inventory, and this is the most critical point for any seller to have inventory on Amazon, you must acknowledge the situation with the logistics because you can save ton of money by have the knowledge and approaching your freight forwarder with the right details, because there is a lot of freight forwarders around the world, a lot of them telling stories about transit time, about cost, and so on. So I believe that especially these days when shipping costs is the highest ever, and the transit time are longer than ever before, it is important to know logistics and understand it. Okay, so now let's talk about the topic that we would like to discuss today. First of all, we want to discuss about the current situation around the world with the logistics. What is going on in China? What is going on in the United States? There is a critical backlog at Los Angeles port, which affect all the logistics chain. So we will talk about it a bit further. Of course, we want to discuss about the shipping price because this is maybe the news of this current time. Shipping cost increased, let's say, from January 2021 to today roughly in about, I'm not good in math, so I don't want to talk about percentage, but it was about $3,000 to $4,000 per 40 high cube, and it reached by the end of September almost to 2022 $1,000, and even to East Coast it could cost even $30,000. So the increase was amazing. Nobody could predict this kind of increase, but this what happened. And today we saw the past week or so, let's say, a decrease of the ocean freight for the first time in about 10 months or so. We saw a decrease of about 30% of the cost. So everybody now wondering, will this continue, or we're going to face another increase of the shipping cost? So this is a topic I want to discuss about. I'm not sure if you, Tomer, notice all this increase of the cost as a seller by your own mean, but let's explain why the increase happened and why the decrease is happening now. All right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that any seller that shipping and selling notice this, unless he's like really really new. And to those of you that don't know, we are talking about logistics news. We're talking now. The first topic to talk about is the increase in prices and what's going on right now. So continue, Amit. Sorry.
Right. So generally speaking, let's say why the cost increase in such high volume the past 10 months. Generally speaking, to say, I don't want to say that everything is related to COVID, but for sure it does. Eventually, shipping cost is based on supply and demand. As long as the supply, and when I'm talking about supply, I don't talking about cargo supply, I'm talking about space in vessel, all right? So as long as the space in the vessel is low and there is a high demand to ship cargo out, the rate will increase dramatically. So this is what we faced the past 10 months. Because of the COVID, the manufacturer itself and the factories itself have a lower capacity of manufacture the goods. Therefore, and globally, there is a major crisis of empty containers, availability of empty containers, backlog in the United States at the ports, at the rail, and so on. So, with that said,
Nightmare.
when you don't have empty containers to ship out goods, your manufacturer doesn't apply the time that they said they will. Eventually, it's come up to the point that a lot of people want to ship cargo on the same date. Once it's happening, the rate increased. Okay, so this is what we saw in the past 10 months. What happened now, that I'm sure everybody familiar with that, from October 1st to October 8th, China was on holiday. I think it called Autumn Festival or something like that.
Yep.
There was a holiday. So of course, all the factories, everybody was on hold. Okay, so there was no any cargo shipped out to China, shipped out to port, let's say. Okay. On top of that, there is a major point now that there is, by the Chinese authority, decided to make a power restriction or power use in China for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a factory or you're a person at home. Everybody facing some power restriction. Because of that, the factory itself, they used to work, let's say 5, 6, some of the factories even work 7 days per week. But today, the China government give them maybe 2 to 3 days of power, okay? So what took normally, let's say you make a new order at the factory, so normally it take about 30 days, so these days can even reach up to 60 days, okay? So if we take the two factors, that there was holiday in China and the factory itself, the production line take at least double the time that in normal days, all right? So we have a gap, let's say, start between October 1st and let's say till today, October 14th, there was a gap that there was not a lot of cargo needed to be shipped out of China. Because of that, again, the supply decreased and the demand, the supply increase and the demand decrease. Because of that, the rate level, the sea freight level decreased dramatically. Okay,
Hmm.
but what's going to happen, let's say, and this again, this is a prediction only. Nobody can know it. Okay, it's a prediction. What I believe we're gonna see in, let's say, in the next month or so. So the factories itself, we try to rush out their production line. Okay, so eventually, let's say in a 2 weeks or month from now, everybody again would like to ship the goods together, a lot of cargo, a lot of containers together. Again, the supply will decrease, the demand will increase, and the rate level will increase dramatically. So nobody can really predict if we're gonna see this, if we're gonna see the decrease of the rate itself decrease again, or we're gonna see increase in the ocean freight. But in my opinion, we have a gap here of about I don't know, 2 weeks, a month or so. So the sea freight will be, let's say, normal side. So it's a good time to try to ship goods out of China. But
Yeah, yeah. I want to interrupt and say something as a seller, from a seller point of view. So
yeah, please.
two points. One is the electricity issues. At first, I didn't really pay too much attention to this. Some
Right,
factories said we're not affected. We are yes affected. So we didn't see the effect of it. Now it's all across China. It's not just like some regions. It's all over China. They're
right,
restricted. At the beginning, it was 4 or 5 days of working and 2 days off. Now it's 3 days of working, 4 days off. It's crazy. So you have to make conversations with your suppliers and factories. That's what I did this morning. I just told Amit that I had a meeting starting from 7 a.m. like all the way like up to now to this recording. And the reason for the meetings is to really know what are the challenges that the factories have. Because once I know their challenges, I can be more prepared and have better plans. So as far as factories, talk to them, because when you talk with them, you can find solutions. In my case, they are going to uh, produce in the 4 days and pack in the other rest days. This is
right,
allowed.
right.
So
But
that's one way.
Thomas,
Uh,
something need to recognize that, like in China, all right, nobody really knows what is going on. Not the factories itself, not the
yes,
people itself, and especially not the foreigners, meaning us. All right. So
yes,
when we talk with our factories, yeah, they can say something once, but tomorrow it will be different story because
yes,
even the Chinese people really doesn't know what is going on there. So everything need to take into consideration, and like in my opinion, the best thing to do is always try to have the production earlier as possible, because if we consider the shipping time, the problem now with the power restriction and so on and everything, eventually the first thing any seller need to have is inventory at their FBA center. So in order to have it or to optimize this point, always try to make earlier order with the factories and try to start the production earlier as possible. Take a gap, at least 2 weeks to a month, a gap earlier before, let's say, in the normal days.
yes, yes, definitely. This is Yeah, definitely do that. Um, and with the prices that you said, definitely if you have any production or inventory ready, try to ship it in the next 2 weeks to save some extra, money that will help you, with cash flow and it's not just that. Even if the prices are high right now, because it's going to take you really long time, probably like minimum 60 days, you have to ship it now in order to even see it in December, hopefully. So
I don't believe I don't want to
yeah,
be the bad guy here. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't want to be the bad guy, but the chances that you have a cargo now that you needed to sell on let's say for Christmas, the chances that you're gonna
yes.
use a sea freight and reach on time to Amazon in the States
No, no,
is I
that's
don't
not
want
gonna
to
happen.
say is the
No,
minimum. It's almost zero. So
yeah,
everybody that want to ship these days cargo to sell on Amazon at Christmas time, so rather choose Sea Express, which of course cost higher than regular, but it's an alternative. And the second alternative is to choose air freight.
Yeah. I was not really like referring to selling on Amazon, to maybe reach the port in December.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But definitely, Chinese New Year is just around the corner. So take this in mind. Order extra, like take extra gap of inventory, and order more than what you actually think that you need. So cash flow and finance are connected to it, to freight right now. So it's not just what you want, you have to back it up by financing.
Right.
So definitely, like, it's not an easy game. We see a lot of even big and huge sellers and companies, like falling and crashing with the latest updates and challenges that we have.
The
Let's
major
let
challenges, Tomer, by the way, the major challenge in my opinion is running your cash flow, because if
Yep.
let's take example what let's say old seller
Normally.
old seller in the normal days used to be accustomed to. All right, they said, okay, I am starting production today. Okay, it will take about 30 days to organize the cargo. It's gonna take about a month max to ship the cargo to Amazon. So you have about 2 months, let's say 2 months to 80 days from starting production till the time you starting selling in Amazon. These days, easily, it's take about 120 days to 150 days from starting production. So running the cash flow is much harder, because eventually you need to pay 30% in the front to the supplier, then 70% again once the cargo is ready. You need to pay your freight forwarder at least 500% more cost when it used to be. So running the cash flow is, in my opinion, the most hard task for any Amazon seller these days. But eventually, any business, doesn't matter if it's a freight forwarder, Amazon seller, or whatever, is handled only by the cash flow. So this is something everybody need to be recognized.
That's 100% true. And like, while you're small, it's not that big deal, but once you grow, it's become like a major challenge.
Right.
But let's focus more on what's going on here in our ports, in the US ports, for Amazon sellers. Maybe you can touch a little about Europe too, because one of the biggest reasons why really didn't went or scaled my European operations, it's due to logistics. It took me months to get inventory to Germany or UK, and then we had the issue with the UK that went out of the European Union. So
Yeah.
that all challenges made me staying away and doesn't really scale it. But let's focus first on the US and what's going on here in the ports.
Right. So let's start it really with US, because let's say it's the biggest market for any Amazon seller, or the first market for any Amazon seller, most likely. So the biggest issue, and it's already even handled by the US president. So I'm sure it's something that affect everybody in the United States, is what is going on with the backlog at mainly in Los Angeles port and Long Beach port and other port in the States. Okay, so generally speaking, United States, and especially Long Beach port at Los Angeles, which is the biggest port in Los Angeles, biggest port in the States in general, and one of the biggest ports in the world, suffer a historic backlog that was never recorded before. Okay, these days I'm not sure about the exact number. Okay, but we're talking something about 50 vessels anchor outside of Los Angeles port. Okay, 50 vessels. So you can imagine that in, let's say, average vessel, we have something about 16,000 containers. Okay,
16. Wow.
16,000 containers approximately, and on average scale. Okay, so you can imagine, if there is just 50 vessels outside of port, how much inventory and how much
Wow.
goods there is sits just outside of the port. Okay, another major issue, that once the vessel enter to port, there is just absolutely zero possibility to pick up the container from the port because the port itself is backlogged like crazy. So what the effect of it? It's a ripple effect because first of all, the transit time is crazy long, okay? Because the transit time between China to Los Angeles remained the same, about 15 to 16 days, but vessel doesn't enter to port. You cannot pick up the container from port. It can even reach to a month to the container to be available for pickup. So you can imagine the effect on that. Second issue is that once you want to pick up the cargo, there is no truck drivers. Because of the COVID, I don't want to say there is a major problem with manpower across the United States with what we call a blue collar people or blue collar worker. Okay, so there is a lack of truck drivers. You cannot enter to port. Sometimes it's take about 16 hours to enter to Los Angeles port. So driver said to himself, listen, I don't want to enter to port. I will try to find a different job for today. Okay. So you have a problem to find truckers. Then you have a problem to find chassis to pick up the container from the port because all the chassis now are crossing United States because you cannot use the train now because the train is also a backlog. So a lot of truck drivers going to central states. So there is no chassis available to pick up the container. So everything now is chaotic. So now the ministry, the United States ministry advised that they come to a let's say they come to
An agreement or trying
yeah,
to come up with a process.
they came to agreement with Los Angeles Port that they are gonna operate Long Beach Port for 24/7 for 7 days, okay, which was until now 5 days only. Everybody, everybody went to celebrate, okay, but it
Got excited.
doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. First of all, such operation take time. It's not going to solve in a one day. This is first of all. Second of all, if the port itself working 24/7, that is nice. But what about the truck driver? What about the warehouses? What about all the infrastructure close to Los Angeles area? So this still
But
work
it
five
will
days
help
a week.
somehow, I think. Like even if a warehouse is closed, they can always drop a container there, or they can always, even if it's 2 3 hours extra of work, it will help somehow, I guess. But the
Yeah,
effect of it will take
but
time.
right, but Tomer, again, you don't want you as a customer, okay? You don't want that some truck driver will put your container outside of any warehouse and okay, will come back in 2 to 3 days because there was not going to be any container there. So again, the situation is crazy, and in my opinion, what the ministry just did, it's like putting a band-aid on an open wound. It can help, but it's not gonna have effect at least for the next 3 to 6 months. So it's gonna take time. So
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
need
Sorry
to,
to interrupt, but we got the question here
yeah.
by Usman, and the question is from Amit. Biden decided to keep the LA port function. Okay, so we just talked about it. Do you think that this speed up? Yeah, I hear many freight forwarders talking about shipping rates coming down dramatically in near future due to some understanding between US and China administration. Okay, this we didn't talk about, but what do you think about it?
I never heard about this point. I don't see like when shipping cost was the lowest ever, the ministry in China or the ministry in the States didn't help the shipping line itself. So in my opinion, I don't see any chance that the ministry in China or the ministry in the States will come to the shipping line and say, listen guys, your rate is crazy high. It was reached to the highest ever like 2 weeks ago, and the ministry didn't do anything. So to say that now they will come to a solution, a conclusion together to try to push the shipping line to decrease the cost, it's not going to happen.
Don't you think that the big players would pressure the governments, like, because they are getting hurt as well? Like IKEA here, they are getting their own shipping vessels, and the big companies like Walmart doing that as well. Like, that's not the route that I mean. That's not gonna put the pressure on the governments to find solutions. I guess the Biden administration, they did this 24/7 solution due to a pressure, right?
This, yeah, the solution the US ministry can come, they come to say to the port, listen guys, you need to work more efficient, you need to work faster, you need to work 24/7. This is okay, but the power the US ministry have on the Chinese ministry,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be rude, but is almost nothing. Okay, almost zero. So the chance that the two ministry will do some combination together to assist the importers in the United States, in my opinion, is not relevant. So again, to forecast what's gonna happen with the shipping cost is difficult. In my opinion, we can see a stagnation, let's say, the next 2 weeks with the rate cost, meaning it will remain plus or minus the same like today. But I believe we're gonna see again increase starting November with the shipping cost. Like I cannot definitely say it in 100%, but it's my prediction. Once the factory will resume to, let's say, efficient work, and they're gonna be a lot of cargo need to be shipped out of China again. So again, the cost will increase again. So
Yeah, and if you guys want, Amit was kind enough to offer all of Sourcing Monster viewers $100 credit for the first order that you're going to do. So if you're interested in 3PLs or freight forwarder services, email me Tomer at sourcing-monster.com, and we'll hook you up.
right,
It's not just also the processing times due to the increased the operational and the production times that are limited are really increasing the production costs and the raw materials too.
right.
So place orders. That's my advice. Like, place order, have inventory, like Amit said, inventory. Like, make sure that you at least you have it. That's the first priority. Actually, the first priority is cash flow.
Inventory is the key, Tomer. Without inventory, you cannot sell, so you have no business. So inventory is the key. And again, it was easier, much easier a year ago to running a Amazon business, to running your stock, but the change in the 2021 that affected the logistics was enormous. And again, what we used to custom to is just not relevant anymore. So this is something everybody, doesn't matter if you are a new seller, a six figure, 7 figure, 8 figure seller, it affects everybody on the same way. So again, first and biggest priority is to have inventory. Start your production line early.
What about Europe, in short?
Like in Europe, uh,
I know
once
Germany is a nightmare to get stock.
like the German customs itself, the customs authority in Germany is very complex. So everything there taking longer than in the States. Okay, I don't want to jump really into the process
Yes.
between United States and Germany customs wise, but the process is much more difficult and much more slower. The
I'm
biggest
talking
news,
about bringing goods from China to Germany,
yeah,
not from the
yeah,
US.
yeah, 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 yeah. The biggest news, in my opinion, concerning Europe is in England, which is now out of Europe because of the Brexit. They have there, I think, a national problem
With truck
concerning
drivers.
truck drivers. And why? Because when England was part of Europe, most of the truck drivers in England coming from East Europe. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now when they close the border, they just doesn't have trucker there. So again, same situation. Ton of containers sits in the port. No truck drivers can take it out. So the situation now is a nightmare, and believe me, I'm facing so many phone calls per day. What about my inventory? I don't have an inventory, but there is a major crisis there of truck drivers. So If you ask me, it's always a good idea not to put all your egg in one segment. Meaning, and if you have the capability, the money capability as well, to open a new market in Europe, it's a good idea, but the logistic challenger is different than in the States. So
Yep.
again, I don't want to jump into any country there in Europe, but everybody can contact me directly or via Tomer, and I will explain them specific.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's again, my plans this year was to really scale Europe, but once I saw like the challenges and the obstacles, I decided to shift and not really to focus due to the logistics issues and more to focus on the US. And yeah, it's a real challenge right now.
What
And
about Canada, by the way, Tomer? Do you sell in Canada as well? Do you
I
have
sell in
something to
Canada,
sell
but
from
not
the point
through
of
like
view of the seller in Canada?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Do you have any recommendation from a seller point of view to sell on Canada? In
So
Canada,
I
sorry?
personally don't have any inventory sitting in Canada. All the inventory that we have is shipped from the US and we pay more for that. It's relatively smaller market and I prefer not to focus on it right now.
Right.
But and I guess there are people that are more experienced than me in that area. But what about you? From your experience working with a lot of Amazon sellers, do
Right.
you see more shipments going to Canada? What is the situation there?
So generally speaking, let's say if I'm comparing sellers selling in Amazon US or in Canada, so it's about 20% selling on Canada compared to the United States. But the past month or so, the past 2 months or so, and I don't know why is it going on, I get a lot of rate requests of shipping goods from the States to Canada directly or from Canada to the States. So I think the biggest advantage selling in both market that you can always running the inventory between both countries. Meaning, if you're trying to sell something in the United States and you don't have the success that you are looking for, and you have inventory, maybe you can ship it to Canada. If you're trying to sell in Canada and there is not such a success in Canada, so maybe you can divert it to the States. So I think this is a good idea. Why even to sell in Canada? Once you're selling on the States, it's a good idea to have another market close by. For Europe, I would just add something that the transit time can be these days even 60, 80 days from departure time, but we have alternative by truck from China to Europe by truck, when there the transit time is about 30 to 35 days total.
Yes,
So
yes,
if people are looking for faster delivery to Europe, we have the option as well. So
yes,
just
yes.
remember this point.
For me, when I heard about truck delivery from China to Europe, like at first I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are they making fun of me?"
Yeah.
I'm like, someone actually taking a truck in China, driving to Germany. But yeah,
Listen, I
it,
have a
it-
data. I have data, Tomer. It's taking about 30 to 35 days
yeah, yeah,
total.
yeah.
I
I
did
have the
some
data too.
shipments already, and I'm telling you, by sea, it's gonna take about 80 days. So the difference
Yeah.
is crazy. It's crazy.
And it's more controlled. There are less parts to the process in the chain that it's more predictable. Instead of like there again, it's a very simple math. There are less links in the chain, so it's more predictable. Now we have a question here by Noor. I don't have rent for my first product. Okay, so this live is more about logistics. So if you have any logistic questions, ask us here in the comment. If not, this is a question that you want to put on the lives that we have on Tuesday. I have every week live on Tuesday, and hopefully this would become also a thing that we will do every week on Thursdays. I hope
Yeah.
that Amit will be able to do it because he's full of knowledge. As you see, that's what he's doing. He's living the logistics world. He knows all the little parts, and with the volume that he is doing, he gets to know things that other freight forwarders might don't know or don't tell you. So
Tomer,
this is
maybe, yeah, Tomer, maybe if your audience would like, yeah, and for me, of course, I would like to have live streaming every Thursday for sure. But if your audience would like, maybe they can prepare some question for the next time or something that we're gonna have and we can discuss upon.
Yes, yes, that's the plan. Really, letting know that we are here every week, and the more lives that we will do, people get used to it and prepare questions ahead of time, and we can have it ready like the link. But that's
Absolutely.
great idea. We have here Usma that says wonderful session. Thank you to both of you. You are welcome. And I guess that that will be all for today, even though we have more stuff to share, but it took longer than what we expect, than what I expected. It's a real challenges that we are facing, and it's again, it's not a shiny topic. It's not something that is sexy or people like love to talk about, but that's what will change your bottom line, especially now. That's why I partnered with Amit to give you the best prices. And again, $100 off your first shipping with him. You can email me at tomer@sourcing-monster.com. And more than that, giving you value to save you and increase the value of your business and your profitability this Q4. So
Right.
maybe it's not going to happen, like on a permanent thing, but definitely this Q4, we'll try to do it every week, answering your questions. Amit, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate this,
Thank
and
you,
I
Tomer.
learned a lot too. And I guess we'll connect again next week. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck everybody in the Q4, and Tomer again, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.